first round of Nigeria's 2023 general elections was held on Saturday, February 25. President-elect Bola Tinubu and federal lawmakers were elected. The second phase of the election is scheduled to hold on Saturday, March 18. On that day, new governors will emerge for 28 of the nation's 36 states. Lawmakers will also be elected for the state houses of assembly across the federation. In Lagos, the stage is set for what is expected to be a keenly contested governorship and state assembly elections since the return of democracy in 1999. As Nigerians are gearing up for the elections, politicians, opinion leaders, traditional rulers, parents, and religious institutions have been enjoined to caution their supporters, members, wards, and youths to shun violence and criminal acts before, during, and after the elections. It is often said that there is no election that is worth the blood of any citizen. Democracy and good governance can only thrive when there is peace and peaceful coexistence. So, on Panorama today, coming to you live from the Lagos Network Center of the Nigerian Television Authority, we will be discussing the topic: promoting peace during election, the role of religious institutions in deepening democratic tenets in the country. Do not forget to follow this news broadcast live on our website at nta.ng/live and on our other social media handles displayed on the screen for updates. I am Adeola Komiakere. The presidency has reacted to some public concerns over President Muhammadu Buhari's non-reaction to the Supreme Court judgment on the issue of the 500 naira and 1,000 naira old currency notes. A statement from the presidency says at no time did he instruct the Attorney General and CBN governor to disobey any court orders involving the government and other parties. From the time the president was sworn into office in 2015, he never once directed anybody to defy court orders in the strong belief that democracy cannot be practiced without the rule of law, and the commitment of his administration to this principle has not changed. Following the ongoing intense debate about the compliance concerning the legality of the old currency notes, the presidency therefore wishes to state clearly that President Buhari has not done anything knowingly or deliberately to interfere with or obstruct the administration of justice. Neither is he a micromanager who will stop the Attorney General and the CBN governor from performing the details of their duties in accordance with the law. The presidency also says it is debatable if there is proof of willful denial by the two of them on the orders of the Apex Court at this time. The directive of the president following the meeting of the Council of State is that the bank must make available for circulation all the money that is needed, and nothing has happened to change the position. It is an established fact that the president is an absolute respecter of judicial process and the authority of the courts, and has not acted in any way to obstruct the administration of justice, cause lack of confidence in the administration of justice, or otherwise interfere or corrupt the courts. It is therefore wide off the mark to blame the president for the current controversy over the cash scarcity. Despite the Supreme Court's judgment, the CBN has no reason not to comply with court orders on the excuse of waiting for directives from the president. And now, still on the currency situation, the Central Bank of Nigeria says old 200, 500, and 1,000 naira banknotes remain legal tender. The Apex Court, in a statement Monday evening by its acting director, Corporate Communications, Isa Abdulmunim, directs all deposit money banks operating in Nigeria to comply with the Supreme Court judgment of March 3, 2023. The statement also advised all concerned to comply accordingly. And away from economic matters, families of victims of last Saturday's kidnapping at Kuchimbuni in Kubwa, Federal Capital Territory, say the suspected gunmen have made contact demanding 120 million naira for the release of the victims. They spoke off camera to correspondent Onotu Yakubu, who was at the community for a situation update.
Homegrown Estate is a living construction site. The estate lies west on the valleys of Biajin Kubwa Mountains and as well shares direct boundary with the Abuja-Kaduna rail line.
This broken part of the estate fence is a spot where the suspected gunmen were alleged by residents of the estate to have forced access into the estate. Now, the intriguing thing is that the forced access extends beyond these walls of the estate to as far as jumping over the gully just behind the estate and then broke the wall, which is the barrier for the Kaduna-Abuja rail line, which travels through this axis.
Inside the estate, silence overshadows the open space, except for the clicking ambience of construction equipment.
This story building and this access gate into this bungalow provided a platform with which 11 victims were taken into hiding by the suspected gunmen here in Kuchibuni.
In one of the premises, sites of chiseled gates to gain access, broken glasses from shattered windows, and bullet holes on doors through the living room and the kitchen confirmed the harrowing experiences of victims in the hands of the gunmen. Families of victims in captivity will not speak on camera, but confirmed that 11 persons were kidnapped by the unknown gunmen from 4 flats in an operation which lasted a couple of hours. Onotu Yakubu, NTA News.
Ahead of his prosecution for reckless driving, Oluwaseun Oshibajo, the bus driver involved in last Thursday's accident with a train, is currently receiving medical attention at the Federal Medical Center Ebute Metta after undergoing a surgery from internal wounds he sustained in the accident. This was disclosed by the Commissioner of Police Railway Command, Yetunde Longe. Hengino John Adams tells us more.
We have guards.
Commissioner of Police Railway Command said the BRT driver was transferred from the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps office within her area of jurisdiction after receiving first aid treatment following the unfortunate accident last Thursday. He was then taken to Lasuth, where samples were taken to test for illegal substance. But on Saturday, he complained of feeling sick and was rushed to FMC Ebute Metta, where it was discovered that he had internal injuries and was admitted.
In the early hours of Sunday, that is 12th March, we were informed by the policeman that was guarding him that they had to rush him into the theater. He came out of the theater and as at now, he's responding to treatment.
She explained that investigation is still ongoing into his alleged role in the accident.
We have guards at the entrance of or by the door of his ward until he recovers. There's no way we can take him to court.
While families of those who lost their lives in the accident are still mourning their loved ones and the injured nursing their wounds, relevant authorities are on their toes to ensure those affected receive all the support they require. Meanwhile, Oreolua Aino, the corps member who lost her life in the accident, has been buried. In Lagos, Hingino John Adams, NTA News.
Moving on now, the Africa First Lady Peace Mission, under the leadership of the First Lady of Nigeria, Aisha Buhari, has donated food items and other educational materials to other African First Ladies, particularly within the sub-region. State House correspondent Aliyu Kabir reports that this is towards the promotion of peace and development of African women, youth, and children.
The First Ladies Peace Mission is a conference of the African First Ladies for peace building and conflict prevention. It is the product of the 4th UN Conference on Women in 1995, the AU Declaration of 1996, and a meeting of the African First Ladies on the sidelines of the African Union in 1997. This organization has aligned its mission with Agenda 2063 of the African Union, which is the continent's strategic framework for inclusive and sustainable development. Since assumption of the First Lady of Nigeria as the current president of the organization in November 2021, strategic efforts have been put in place towards achieving their mandates, leading to the establishment of the befitting secretariat in Abuja, Nigeria. The distribution of these materials, therefore, is aimed at supporting the effort of the African First Ladies in various capacities for assisting their people through humanitarian activities, particularly in supporting women and children, as well as other vulnerable groups. The items donated include rice, exercise books, as well as nutritional powdered milk for children. The benefiting countries at the first batch of the exercise include Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Ghana. The representative of the Nigerian High Commission to Ghana, Ibrahim Issa Keita, received the items in Accra for the First Lady of Ghana, Rebecca Akufo-Addo.
On behalf of the High Commissioner of Nigeria, I thank the First Lady of Nigeria, Hajia Aisha Buhari, for this magnificent gesture. We are grateful. And the Ghanaian government, Nigerian High Commission, and everybody here is grateful for the initiative of the First Lady of Nigeria.
Similar items were also donated to First Lady of Sierra Leone, Fatima Madabio, which were presented to the head of operations, Sierra Leone International Airport, Lawrence Conte.
The items have been offloaded, and I have informed the Commissioner of Police, who has also deployed police officers to be with me, to ensure that these items are secured and properly forwarded to our First Lady.
The same gesture was extended to the First Lady of Liberia, Claire Mary Ware. The items were handed over to the Commander Executive Protection Service, Robert International Airport, Isaac Dixon Door.
I'm so glad, for the people of Nigeria through our office to think about the underprivileged people in Liberia.
Similar distribution is expected to be extended to other African countries, particularly within the sub-region. I am Aliyu Kabir, NTA News.
You're still watching Panorama, reaching you live from the Lagos Network Center of the NTA. Let's take a short break. More news when we return. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, in every political contest, the winner must emerge. Most times, this does not go down well for the losers. What is, however, crucial is how the losing party handles their loss. Our correspondent examines the need to eschew violence and promote peace among all parties involved for the growth of a nation. The famous Martin Luther King Jr. was awarded the 1964 Nobel Peace Prize for promoting non-violent means in his campaigns for civil rights reforms. And in 1993, the same honor was accorded Nelson Mandela for his virtue of perseverance in the pursuit of freedom for South Africa. In Nigeria, for instance, the resort to violence by some politicians, all in the guise of serving the people, remains inexplicable. For some time now, at elections, it has been observed that some citizens pay the ultimate price for leaders to be elected. Should this be so?
You cannot force somebody to vote your party. That's why it's an election. It's like a game. If you have your supporters, they may not support you, some other will support you. But even when you win, it does not mean that you are not going to bring them into governance.
When you bring up your idea, probably based on the provisions of your manifesto of a political party or the ideology of that political party, we debate.
Each time the topic peace takes center stage, people forget that the concept is premised on other variables, chief of which is justice, as there can't be peace without justice. According to the philosopher Thomas Hobbes, the first and fundamental law of nature is to seek peace and follow it. While it is entirely correct that election is a game and not war, why then do some supporters of political parties truncate the process by perpetrating violence?
It is being said during the Civil War, is to keep Nigeria one is a task that must be done. And I believe that during this next few months and weeks, we need to begin to re-irritate our people's mind to think Nigeria.
In 2015, the National Peace Committee initiated the Peace Accord, signed and undertaken by the two major contenders to avoid actions that could promote violence before, during and after the polls. This pattern was, however, adopted before the February 2023 elections.
The person that won can still work with the rest of all the people who took part in the contest. Okay? Try as much as possible to see how they can harness their strengths.
As Nigerians prepare for the governorship and State House of Assembly elections, observers say there is the need for the key actors and their supporters to give peace a chance and play the game as a healthy competition for the good of society. Further discuss promoting peace before, during and after elections, the role of religious institutions and other related electoral issues is the Acting Director of Islamic Affairs and the Chief Imam of the Nigerian Navy, Captain Gidadu Taufik Misdad. Good to have you join us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, now, you witnessed the last election, how things played out among the political parties and, their campaigns. So what would you say would be your assessment from your own point of view as a religious leader?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. The first thing is that in the history of Nigerian electioneering campaigns, the last election could be seen as the most polarized and bifurcated election. And this is as a result of the tendency by the actors and the players, and sometimes we call them the gladiators in the electoral processes. They have the mind that this is going to be a do or die thing. As a religious leader and someone who represents a religious institution, I think we're far away from the ethics of peace and harmony, even as we sue for votes, we campaign for votes. And I think this needs to be nipped in the bud going forward in our further electoral processes in the country.
Okay, now, as a religious leader, we know that religion plays a critical role in defining, a person. Did that really play out in the course of the election? How did the religious institutions fare in this election?
Well, to be candid with you, I think we didn't fare well. I say we because as a religious leader, I want to stand on this platform to say that most of the religious leaders deviated from the primary purpose, the original purpose, the foundational purpose with which we know religious leaders. Now, how do I mean? Religious institutions are supposed to be unbiased empires when it comes to the issues of election. Because as a religious leader, you have in your congregation people who belong to different political parties.
Exactly.
In that instance, how on earth can you, as a leader, like you have so many children in your house, and you pick just one, and you say, this is my child. What about the other children?
Exactly.
They look at you as the person who is biased, prejudicial, and a person that cannot stand for the truth. Now, going forward on this, many people have turned the pulpits, or you call it the minbar, to the places of electioneering campaign. And it is not the role of the pulpit. Now, in God's name, we have made vile, fatuous, inflammatory statements that can implode the nation. And I think it's way off.
Yes.
It's way off.
Okay. So now, going forward, what should be the approach of, religious institutions during election period as well?
Well, it's clear. The roles of religious institutions should be to set the minds of the people, or reset their minds and continuously guide them, to guide the populace towards the values, the values of righteousness, the values of truthfulness, the values of honesty, which are intrinsic to nation building. Now, integral to nation building. Now, by the time we try to stay away from prevaricating or filibustering. Many religious leaders filibuster into political corridors. And this is not our role. Our role is like we are teachers to guide people and say the truth in God's name and without taking sides. So my take on this is that to all those who are religious leaders, we should guide the populace to that which is the truth in God's name, because it is in God's name that we guide. So when we now misguide going by our own leaning, then that is in and of itself an anathema in religious circle.
All right, now, thank you very much. Now, in a few days' time, Nigerians will be heading, to the polls to elect their governors and, of course, those for the House of Assembly. Now, what should be the attitude of the electorate at this time? You've spoken about religious leaders. Now, let's talk about the electorate.
Well, it's quite clear, and I'm going to speak as a teacher now and as a guide, as a religious leader, that we should go beyond utterances that can implode the polity. We shouldn't look at the moment and say things that are inflammatory, that can destroy our collective patrimony. Rather, we should galvanize ourselves. We should accentuate things that will promote peace and harmony in our nation. Because beyond the electionary campaigns, beyond the voting, Nigeria continues. And we have to live together in peace and love and harmony in order to move the nation forward. Because this country is for us all, not for a particular set of people.
Exactly, we must put our hands together to make sure that we get the Nigeria of our dreams. Thank you very much, Chief Imam Nigerian Navy, for your thoughts with us on Panorama.
I appreciate you. Thank you.